Interesting about this is I don't know if Sam signed up his lock
Oh.
at all, but maybe they want to play that. Oh, whoa, wow. Da-da, da-da-da.
All right, we see Method Black coming out with their Mage Boomkin Holy Paladin. They're patented for this composition, but this time we have Rosita Jones instead of Majidin running this composition. I can't wait to see him play. And then we have I Like the Status on the other end are running Feral Druid, Shadow Priest, Holy Paladin.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
All right, I mean,
Interesting choice from I liked his status. Probably most notable, this team has the worst name in the tournament. Just want to point that out.
shots being fired from Supatis, but I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like, it's so hard to say that team name. What the heck? From a commentator's point of view, pick a better name, man. Pick a better name. But here we go. The gates are about to open. Method Black versus I Like the Status. This is a best of 5 series here in the upper bracket. The very first match of the entire tournament. And here we go. Beanslayer coming out, trying to get that clone right away, but he is going to get interrupted. Rubcub's put into that deep freeze with the beam on the Hodge. The cross CC is there. Rubcub's getting put into the beam outside of that, but the fear onto Floria, and Asper's just taking a whole bunch of pressure as the Horrify goes out as well. Saved by the Light procking too, and Barkin being used, and that was not even Incarnation from Bean, so not a bad opener coming out from I Like the Status.
That's the first time I've ever seen Floria and Asper overlap cooldowns almost ever. So getting Barkskin and Trinket Wings out from Floria very early on from I Liked His Status. Let's see if they can keep the momentum rolling. They do have Incarnation available. Asper still has his Celestial Alignment available as well, so there's still a lot of potential damage for both teams. Merkmines had a really good life grip at the beginning of that game, which broke up all of Rubcub CC. We see Rubcub pre-sacrificing the Deep Freeze here. Are they going to be able to spell steal it off? Doesn't look like they're going to be able to land the CC. Here comes the setup from I Liked His Status. A Horrify over onto Floria. He's going to bubble actually out of that immediately to try and save Asper. Asper actually tricketing as well, and again another overlap in the second setup of the game. This third setup could be the game. Full Hodge on a Floria, Asper in full retreat, Beanslayer right on his tail. Officer Bean hunting down the Chicken Lord. Asper himself going for a defensive clone, lands that onto Beanslayer, full poly onto Rubcubs, and suddenly this is a 3v1 situation onto Merkmines, suddenly getting it rotated in his face. Rubcub forced to bubble and try and recover here. Beanslayer caught into a Hodge. Merkmines getting cloned up at low HP, trying to deny that wings healing from Rubcubs. Asper will have Barskin to deal with the next assault. Let's see if he chooses to use it now. Floria spamming out the heals, pre-sacrifices the fear. Unfortunately, isn't breaking. Asper hiding away, doing a good job keeping his distance, and they're actually going to swap over onto Rosita Jones.
Yeah, Rosita Jones taking a bit of pressure there as Floria is still caught into that Hodge, into the Horrify, and it doesn't even look like they're going to continue the damage onto him. Instead, they're just going to clone up Asper here and try to reset. Something to note about Beanslayer and Merkmines is that their consistent damage is kind of lackluster, but their setups are pretty crazy. There's the beam going out onto Merkmines, and Beanslayer taking a whole bunch of pressure at this point. Rosita Jones actually getting defensively silenced from Merkmines. Bean actually walled there as well. So, I mean, looking at Rubcub's defensive cooldowns, all he has is less of the Trinket, and Bean only has that wall available to him, but no Trinket. And he has to be able to be out of CC to use that wall as well. Fear goes out onto Floria. It looks like they want to set up on Asper. Full Hodge lands on Asper. Beanslayer trying to connect. Asper sees it. He's just going to go ahead and Barkskin. As soon as Beanslayer connects, Floria now put into that Horrify. Looks like those Horrifies are specifically being used as CC on the healer at this point, but now it's being swapped back around on the Beanslayer over and over. It's just the battle of the CC at the moment, as both teams just kind of wait for their opportunity. Rubcub still being put into those polymorphs from Rosita Jones, but he's going to get cloned up by Beanslayer at this point, and Beanslayer going to connect right back onto Asper at this point. But both of these teams are waiting on DRs and waiting for their setups at this point.
Merkmines moving in, coming in hot with that sprint, lands the full fear. Can they set anything up? Asper displacing behind the box. Beanslayer really unable to connect, forced to go after Rosita, actually leaping over to him. A full Hodge onto Floria. Are they going to keep going after Rosita is the question. Beanslayer just chopping them up at the moment. Deep Freeze and a Root Solar Beam overlapped a bit onto Rubcubs there, and he pre-sacrificed both of them. So he's going to escape a double CC chain, and that means that I Like His Status will have a little bit of time here to put the aggression forward onto Method Black. The next fear up from Merkmines in about 1 second. If he can land that, would be critical. Looks like right now he's trying to go for it. He's freedomed up. He's trying to sprint across the map. He's a little bit scared. It looks like he doesn't want to get caught in the center field. Or something. He's just dotting up both of the DPS at the moment here, Asper and Rosita. Beanslayer looks to be the primary target. There's the full clone onto Merkmines. Can they land the polymorph? They land the full polymorph at a 3v0 situation, actually, for about 1 more second. Beanslayer is still in a lot of trouble. He has 1 more survival instincts remaining. He's going to burn through it, trying to reconnect onto Asper, interrupting him on that Cyclone, breaking up a little bit of CC here. Rubcubs just going into the Frostjaw now. Beanslayer getting cloned up at low HP. Can Asper rotate the clone over in time? Looks like he he wants to, but he gets hodged up. Floria just coming out of that fear, actually forcing Asper's trinket on that hodge. So getting a little bit ahead here. Full bash onto Floria from Beanslayer. What are they going to do out of it? Looks like they're looking for a clone, a half cyclone out from Beanslayer, but I don't think that's long enough to get a kill here.
No, not at all. That Hodge on the Asper stopping that CC chain was a pretty big deal, or that swap on that Cyclone, and it really stopped a lot of the momentum here from Method Black. I like the status playing very defensive at this point. Asper being cloned up at relatively low health, at 65% health here, rotating that onto Rosita Jones. I love how Beanslayer is just keeping it on someone. Now Asper's getting set up on the Hodge, goes out into Floria. Asper forced to use that Bark Skin. He's trying to get a clone off. The double fear coming out from Merkmines on Rosita and Floria, but they're actually swapping that damage over onto Rosita, and he's going to block as well as use that, or that Bop is going to be caught by Floria. A little bit of overlap there. They're trying to turn it around a little bit onto Merkmines, but look at the damage that's being done from I like the status. I have to say, this Feral Priest Paladin composition seems to be working out for them so far.
I think it's doing pretty well, but they forced a 2-for-1 cooldown. Merkmine's trinketing and Rubcub's bubbling at the same time.
Yeah.
And now Celestial Alignment is available for Asper. So the next CC could be big for Method Black. Looks like Merkmines isn't going to let it happen. A full fear onto Floria. Who are they going to set up on? Looks like Rosita is a bit of the primary target at the moment here, but Beanslayer is going to get cloned up. Merkmines into the Frost Shroud. Rubcub's caught into a sheep. It's a 3v1 onto Merkmines. What's he going to do? Rubcub is going to trinket and dispel him out, trying to deal with that Celestial Alignment and doing a great job. Rosita getting bursted, blocking down at 15% HP, and suddenly Rosita has no more blocks remaining. They're swapping the pressure over onto Asper. Beanslayer looking for a clone. He does get bashed up on it. Rubcubs gets Solar Beamed. He's forced to Aura Mastery. Pops the Avenging Wrath. He's going to stabilize Beanslayer. They need to keep their aggression rolling here with Rosita having no blocks remaining, no bubble, and no trinket on Floria. He did pre-sacrifice this fear, but it looks like they're going on the other target, and that fear is going to sit full. Defensive polymorphs out from Rosita at the moment onto Merkmines. Now the full clone trying to deny all of his incoming damage, but there's a full Hodge onto Floria. Can they connect? Beanslayer trying to do his best at the moment here. Lands a full bash onto Asper. I'm curious who I like to say is going to go for. It looks like Rosita is going to be the primary target with having no blocks remaining. Frozen Orb comes out from Rosita looking for that Deep Freeze Sheep. A 3v1 situation on a Beanslayer. He's got no trinket. Rubcub has no way out. The Mass Dispel from Merkmines is going to save Beanslayer. Rubcub getting a Dispel out, getting some heals. Now they're forced to clone up Beanslayer low HP. Asper looking to rotate that clone around, but Rubcub's able to actually line aside it. A little bit of luck there with the polymorph pathing, but now that the CC is broken up, Method Black is on the back foot.
Oh man, that Bark Skin might not be enough. He's displacing back to his healer. He's trying to peel Merkmines off. He's going to bash him up to before Floria gets put into that fear, but he's hodged up out of this. Can Merkmines land the fear? But is it already too late? He's going to disperse at super low health as he gets burst down by Asper and Rosita Jones. Asper now getting cloned up, and he just trinketed. He can't get out of that clone just yet, but it's so back and forth. I like the status coming out of the qualifiers, going up against the #1 seeded team and showing them what's up. This is such a close game so far, going into 12% dampening at this point. Look at Rubcub's mana compared to Floria. I mean, going into dampening, that could be an advantage, but these setups are just so brutal coming out from both of these teams. Merkmines lands the fear on the Floria. Bash goes out on the Asper. Rosita Jones also put into that DR silence. Horrify now on the Asper, and Floria is in Narnia at the moment. Asper being cloned up at relatively low health, waiting for the setup. Merkmine's going to get hodged up, but I believe he's just going to trinket out of that. Rubcub still in that polymorph, but no damage is ready for the setup just yet, as Asper is just taking an immense amount of pressure. Devouring Play going out into Asper as well, and he's just going to pull back for now. He's not going to push in until he has the momentum.
All of the defense right now for I like his status is on Rubcub's shoulders. With his trinket available and bubble, he needs to keep his team alive. Beanslayer getting cloned up. Merkmine's trying to solo Asper right now. Will he be able to do it? The root beam now over onto Rubcub. Not sure if he has a way out of that. He has his trinket available. He's going to bubble out of the clone. A lot of burst following it up onto Merkmines here. Asper getting caught into a Horrify. Floria actually able to dispel it. Still a lot of damage coming in onto Asper. He's going to Bark Skin at low HP. He gets bopped. Aura Master overlap now as well. Suddenly Method Black using a lot of cooldowns at once. Fortunately for them, Floria does have his bubble and Avenging Wrath, so he's going to have a lot of cooldowns to continue this attack on a Merkmines. Merkmines still with no dispersion. Rubcub trinket dispels the Hodge. Beanslayer gets cloned on his Incarn. That Incarn is still going crazy at the moment. Rosita has one more block remaining. He's got to be careful. He does not want to get Ferocious bitten for 100k or something here. Floria still has his Avenging Wrath up. He should be able to pick him up. He does get full feared though by Merkmines. Merkmines doing a great job this game. Rosita's got to be careful. That's going to be his final block potentially of the game here. Floria still getting half cloned up. Merkmines getting cloned as well there to try and deny a Mass Dispel maybe. Floria getting bashed though. Beanslayer doing a good job to chain the CC. Floria is forced to bubble. Do they have any more follow-up to finish off Rosita? Beanslayer trying to clone him up at low HP, but Asper going to deny it with a clone of his own.
Yeah, that was a clutch clone coming out from Asper. Just about saved Rosita's life. But here we go. They're setting up onto Beanslayer. Beanslayer's going to go ahead and wall, catching that Aura Mastery as well as this is Asper's Celestial Alignment. And that damage negation was definitely needed there. Floria caught into another fear. Rosita Jones in that cycle, and Asper's all alone here. He's going to get away. Celestial Alignment's going to fade, and all that offensive cooldowns are going to fade as well. 25% dampening at this point, and Method Black is pushed on the back foot at this point. Floria actually pulling back and trying to kick Rub Cubs or vice versa. Asper at such low health here. Can Floria keep his team alive? He gets put into the full Hodge. Deep Freeze goes out on the Rub Cub. Can Method Black turn it around on a Beanslayer? Beanslayer has that wall. He's going to press it. He's just going to trade those cooldowns. He knows he's ahead. Rub Cub's put into the Polymorph. Frost on the Merc Mage. Hodge on the Beanslayer. This is their chance. Rosita Jones with no block at such low health. Save that Light's proccing Floria in that fear. Is this going to be it for Rosita Jones? Rosita Jones goes down, and I like the status pulling out the crazy weird composition. Is going to take game number 1 against the number 1 seeded team of the tournament.
Dude, Mercmine's hard carry. I'm calling Mercmine's hard carry. He may be from Brazil.
Dude, those master spells, dude. Those master spells were so good.
Carry damage too, dude. He did 10 million damage compared to 3 million. Even like doing double Beanslayer's damage. Like he carried damage, he carried utility. He was like, I mean, obviously Beanslayer and Rubcub did a good job rotating their defensive cooldowns as well, but I really think Mercmine's probably the MVP of that match.
Yeah, I was really impressed with their play. I'm gonna be honest with you. I loved the Cyclones coming out from Beanslayer as well, rotating those Cyclones over onto one another. But we have to say, I mean, we saw those overlap. We saw that stuff coming out from Floria and Asper, you know, and stuff like that is not something I normally see from this team. So could just be jitters. It could just be needed to warm up. But I don't know. The next map choice is going to be coming out from this team of Method Black, and they're going to go to Tolvaron Arena. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in that map in just a hot minute. Alrighty, here we go, guys. We're gonna be jumping into it very, very soon. These teams aren't quite ready yet. Supa's mic is louder than mine. Here, I actually just turned the gain up of my microphone. I'm gonna see what my microphone's volume is at. I'm trying to fix this for you guys. My microphone volume, and I'm not even joking. Yeah, I'm at 12. I'm at level 12 right now. My microphone.
What does this sound like?
What do you mean?
Do I sound different? I did something.
You actually sound better. Does he sound better or what? That was the hottest minute. Thank you. I don't know what to say to that. Yeah. Way too loud. Turn down. Rip ears. Okay. All right. Is this better, guys?
There's no setting for me to turn it down on this.
Yeah. Is this better? I just turned down the gain quite a bit. Let me know. It's loud now. Haha. Man. I can't catch a break, but here we go. We're going to jump into the game, guys. Bear with me. Loud. It's still too loud. Good. Perfect. Crap, now I'm moving it. Alright, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. Ask you guys again after this match because we're going into another super exciting match between Method Black and I Like the Status. I Like the Status now has a Sam-I-Am. A wild Sam-I-Am appears on this team. And all of a sudden, that Feral Mage... Or I'm sorry, that Feral Priest Paladin composition actually did quite well against this Mage Boomkin. I'm curious to why they swapped it up, but here we go. What do you think? Do you think FMP has a better chance against?
It follows the same format as BlizzCon, right? Where the losing team picks map, winning team picks comp. So yeah. Maybe they felt like this had a better chance than maybe if they got countered. I don't know if Chanimals could sub in and just counter that or something.
Oh, that's a good point. You know, the preemptive composition change. Because they were the winners. They had to lock in first. But here we go. Rosita Jones and Sam-I-Am just going to go ahead and collect some icicles on one another. Both of these druids coming out. And the Cyclone actually comes out from Asper onto Beanslayer first. Rosita Jones at 51% health here. Pushing in, getting that Frost Shot onto Rubcubs. Hodge onto Beanslayer. And Rosita Jones is actually one who's in the most trouble in terms of health. Hodge goes out and reads Rosita Jones, and that blink is on cooldown. He's taking a bit of pressure, but the damage is actually going over onto Asper, and he's forced to use that Bark Skin and blink away as Floria is being caught in all sorts of CC at this point. And Rosita Jones forced to block all sorts of damage. Is this going to be it for Asper? Floria forced to use his wings wings, trinket, and execution sentence there. And that's a lot of buttons being used by Method Black already.
Full deep freeze on Rubka, but they don't manage to get the sheep. Beanslayer was able to skull bash that and interrupt it. Now cloning up Rosita. Are they going to pursue after Asbury? He's got no Barskin. Floria has no trinket. They could maybe get his bubble with the next setup if they can land the right CC. Beanslayer still getting cloned up for the time being. Rosita now getting polyed defensively by Sam-I-Am, trying to prevent any incoming blink deeps. Who's going to pull the trigger first is the question. Beanslayer leaping in. It looks like Sam-I-Am is going to pull the trigger. He gets solar beam though on the deep freeze. Unfortunately, he missed the interrupt. They do manage to land the full clone instead, but Asbury got a nice pre-bop. Now popping a Celestial Alignment, trying to counter-pressure Beanslayer as he's pushing forward. Rubcub sees that, pops his own Avenging Wrath to deal with it. Rosita just getting annihilated throughout this entire game, now switching the pressure over onto Asbury, and this is not the Method Black that I'm used to seeing.
Not at all. Maybe it's the damage difference with the gear or something, but Rosita Jones coming out of that block. Saved by the Light's going to proc Ore Mastery coming out from Floria. Can he keep his team alive through all this? But the bubble's going to have to come out as he gets put into a DR Bash. Rubcub's put into the Cyclone. Can Method Black turn it around? Beanslayer being put into that Bash. He still has 2 of those walls available to him, and he's just going to go ahead and use them. An efficient trade. He hasn't have to use them all this time, even throughout Celestial Alignment. Hodge going out on Asper. Deep Freeze goes out into Floria. Barkskin being used, but is it going to be enough as Floria is put into that full polymorph? Asper going to blink away, but you're going to get caught into that full cyclone, and Beanslayer's just going to swap that pressure over onto Rosita Jones, and he has no blocks.
Yep, Floria still getting sheep. Can Beanslayer land the clone? Looks like he's trying to get it. He does get interrupted on it, though, by Rosita. Well done to break up that CC. Very critical moment here as they set up on a Beanslayer with that full Hodge, but they don't get the sheep. Asbury there with the follow-up clone instead. Beanslayer could still be in trouble. He's trying to line of sight on the pillar. 1 Star Surge connects. Are they going to pursue after him? Sam-I-Am blinking back to the pillar now as well. He doesn't want to get swapped to. Rubcub finally leaving the CC there. Now Beanslayer leaping forward, maybe looking to try and get a kill here on Rosita. He's got no more blocks for at least another minute. Pressure onto Sam-I-Am in the meantime, though, as we're just teeing off. Floria's Avenging Wrath is fading. I like his status, needed to pull the trigger, but Sam-I-Am's in trouble. Forced a block in the backline, even with no crowd control. Now Deep Freeze is available for Rosita. Beanslayer leaping forward over onto Asper, looking for a clone maybe instead. Floria pre-sacrificing the Deep Freeze, well done. That actually won't break because Asper has no dots. They're just going to swap onto Rosita. Rosita has no blocks remaining. Floria choosing to sit through this. He has his trinket. He's holding on to it. Saved by the Light is going to proc onto Rosita, dipping dangerously low. Does manage to get that execution sentence off though and heal him. Beanslayer unable to get the cyclone. He did get counterspelled by Rosita, and Rosita's really been saving Floria a lot of the times here, interrupting that cyclone. Now setting up a situation, a 3v1 on the Beanslayer. Rubcub sees it. He's going to bubble, dispel the Hodge, and keep Beanslayer alive here, but the bubble down. Another cooldown ahead for Method Black. Looks like they're slowly but surely starting to turn this around.
You know, I really like how I like the status preemptively use their defensive cooldowns. They see this setup going, and they just give them that bubble. They just give them that trinket. And I think it's working out for him so far. Bash goes out into Sam-I-Am as Frostjaw. Full polymorph onto Rubcub. Beanslayer looks like he is the kill target for now. But Asper caught into that full, that maim here for just a brief moment. But there we go. There's the setup. The Hodge on the Beanslayer is going to force the trinket wall coming out from him as well. Slowly getting these defensive cooldowns from I like this status. But this could go either way at this point. Rubcub has that trinket available to him, but just about every other button is on cooldown at this point. Hodge on Rosita Jones as he got right out of blink of that. Floria and Asper and Rosita Jones are just playing pretty defensively in their positioning at this point. Beanslayer and Sam-I-Am, they could potentially be like pushing in too far. Beanslayer has no trinket available or wall available to him, so he's completely reliant on Rubcub at this point, and he's getting chunked down to 40% health here. Rubcub has that trinket. He's being put into a deep freeze, but polymorph is not going to land for now as it was interrupted on Rosita Jones, and Beanslayer's still in a bit of trouble. He's going to use that wall as soon as it comes off a cooldown.
Oh, nice, though. They managed to bait the Barkskin without incarning. I wonder if they would have just killed him right through it, incarning right there. Beanslayer looking to try and get a clone, but Asper's going to clone him up himself. Floria with his Avenging Wrath. Actually, Avenging Wrath and Barkskin down. This is opening for Beanslayer. As long as they can survive this next attack, maybe they can make something happen with the incarn. Rubcub pre-sacrificing the Deep Freeze. Do they see it in time? Doesn't look like they do. They're going to go for the Root Beam instead. Beanslayer with no trinket. Rubcub needs to save him. He does manage to get that execution sentence off. Here comes the incarnation. This is Beanslayer's opportunity to strike, but unfortunately I think Asbury was DR'd to stuns. They're forced to swap over on Rosita. He's got one more block. He's going to trade it evenly for the incarnation. He doesn't want to fall too far behind. Floria still getting crowd controlled at the moment. Asbury trying to deny cyclones out from Beanslayer with cyclones of his own. Really good awareness to use that preemptively to stop them, but they get the Frostjaw into the clone. Beanslayer follows it up regardless. Can they reconnect? Floria is forced to trinket. He's got the Aura Mastery running. Maybe they can set up a situation to kill Beanslayer. Rubcub sees it. He's going to trinket, pops his Avenging Wrath, trying to keep the pressure rolling onto Rosita or Asbury at this point. Either target. Asper getting cloned up. Looks like they want Rosita. Big ferocious bite out from Beanslayer. Down at 20%. His Saved by the Light is going to get shredded through. Faloria forced to bubble, just spam casting heals, looking to try and set up anything in this dire situation, but suddenly Faloria is running on fumes with cooldowns. There's no blocks remaining, and Asper's Barkskin is the only defensive cooldown left, and they're forced to use it already, and he might die down through it. Half bash on Asper, and they're going to finish him off here, I think. Down at 8, down at 1, and he's going to fall, and I Like This Status are going to 2-0 Method Black. They're one win away from moving forward in the tournament with a bit of an unexpected score overall, I would expect, in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something to note is that all of these players don't really know exactly what to expect going into this tournament, as we are using 740 item level gear. But man, Method Black has been so dominant in the past, and now going up against the team that made it out of the qualifiers, they are on a roll. I Like This Status, regardless of their terrible name, they are doing so well.
Dang, Bean's got a nasty bite, dude. 124k.
It's got a nasty bite, man.
We need a muzzle for BSX.
Yeah, he's got rabies. Wait, can cats get rabies?
I took it too far.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I don't think Beanslayer would appreciate being told that he has rabies.
All right, everybody. We're going to be going into game number 3 here very, very shortly as soon as we get the map choice out from Method Black. And as soon as we get the map choice, we're going to be jumping into it. Oh man, so I mean, this Feral Mage Paladin seems to be doing quite well against Method Black. Where would Method Black take it at this point? I mean, they chose Tolvaron Arena. It didn't work out for them. Are we going to see potentially a Chanimals? Are we going to see a Chanimals coming in?
I actually would like to see them try LSD2.
Oh, LSD2.
They played it last week, I think, for one game in the finals. But I think it would do good against any Paladin comp that Beanslayer's team can play, and since they know what comp they're going to play anyway, they can kind of just see it, because I think LSD2 would actually do pretty well against the Feral Mage Paladin, and they would at least get a win on the board. Yeah. I don't know if Beanslayer's team actually has a counter for it overall. I don't know. I feel like they should try it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they're down 2 games. It is double elimination, so they have that in the back of their mind. Maybe they can feel comfortable enough to try something crazy, because they are down 2-0. They have to win 3 games in a row at this point if they want to continue on. And here we go. The next map that's actually chosen, I'm going to leave it as a surprise. Check this out. Alright, everybody, welcome to Tolvaron. I'm sorry, this isn't Tolvaron Arena. This is Ruins of Lordaeron, as we like to call it, Ruins of Hunteron in the past. It's kind of the polar opposite of Tolvaron Arena, but here we go. We have an FMP going up against Mage Boomkin Holy Paladin once again here in game number 3. Method Black on the ropes of losing this series and potentially dropping down to that lower bracket. And I don't know, Ruins of Lordaeron. What do you think of this choice, man?
I mean, one of the main reasons that I Like This Status are able to survive is because they have a pillar. So picking Ruins of Lordaeron means that Method Black want to take a pretty quick game here, potentially, as there is not many places to line of sight. We can see Rubcub taking the Graveyard here on the side to line of sight. Sam Am right next to him as well. Deep Freeze over onto Faloria. Half Bash on Azra. Full Hodge on Rosita. Rosita blinks up, but they get the Sheep regardless. As we're going for the Solar Beam, locks Sam Am on that Frost Jaw. Beanslayer in a bit of trouble, though. Caught into that Bash. He has to Trinket Survival Instincts almost immediately, but overlapped with Rubcub's Trinket. Maybe it doesn't matter. They got a lot of pressure on Asper here at the moment. Beanslayer getting cloned up there. Incarnation still available, and they burn through the Barson, they burn through the Avenging Wrath. They're swapping over onto Sam I Am, and like I said, with very little pillar line of sight on this map, there's just so much burst potential from Asper and Rosita. I really like this map selection from them so far.
Yeah, it's working out so far to them. I mean, we got that overlap, maybe a misplay from I Like the Status, but they've been pushing these guys back pretty consistently. Asper actually catching that Hannah Sacrifice from Floria preemptively, trying to avoid that Polymorph, but he's just going to get cloned up anyway. Asper blinking away, but Beanslayer's right on his tail. He's also a Druid, just going to reconnect. Hodge actually goes out onto Beanslayer as Rubcub's put into that full Polymorph. Sam I Am's going to block defensively out of that, try to help Beanslayer out as he's taking a whole bunch of pressure without a trinket. He's going to survive through that and get that wall off, as well as that Hannah Sacrifice run from Rubcub and even the Draenei Racial. Incarnation's going to be used, but he's going to get cloned on it instantly. But on the back foot, Asper's actually getting chunked down, saved by the light proccing, and Floria's bubble is going to be used. Both of these players are just getting trades and trades. I mean, that Incarnation was just CC'd, but they still got that bubble from Floria.
Beanstar actually did a fake incarn there. He still got Berserk, now popping the Berserk, and he's on Clone DR. So as we're getting a nice clone on the incarn, but Beanstar playing it smart and not using both of those cooldowns is now able to use it, trying to reconnect on Azra as he displaces away. Maybe they're just going to swap on Rosita. Potentially a big ferocious bite coming out from Beanstar. Beanstar actually getting hodged up now, getting clotheslined by Method Black. Rubcub sees it. He's going to bubble again. Good awareness from Rubcub throughout the series to just preemptively get ready for these setups. Beanstar getting cloned up at low HP, though. That bubble is going to fade onto Rubcub. Ore Master gets popped as we're getting more clones on the Beanslayer at low HP. Can they switch the CC over? Doesn't look like they can. Rubcub actually standing right on top of Floria at the moment. Maybe they're just trying to have mind game each other with rebukes here at the moment. Looks like they're just both standing right on top of each other. Really interesting positioning from the Paladins on this map.
You know, I like that Floria's position to try to get that stun. I think that they need that additional interrupt to be able to take the game against this this FMP. But here we go. Bash goes out onto Floria. Can it get followed up? Full Cyclone lands. Asper getting hodged up. No Bark Skin available for just 3 more seconds. He's going to displace into the tomb, and that means Beanslayer is just right on his tail. Once again, Bark Skin going to be used as soon as it's off cooldown, as Floria is just being put through the chain. Denounce is coming in from Rubcubs as well. Beanslayer getting bopped out of that Bash, but now Beanslayer getting cloned up by Asper. Save by the Light going to come out. Beam goes out onto Samayam. I have to think that that's a defensive beam because Asper was in a lot of trouble there, but Floria's got his wings up, should be able to stabilize Asper just fine at this point. It looks like they're going to try to switch that pressure back over onto Beanslayer, but Asper and Rosita Jones, one of them are always being cross CC'd. It just stops their setup momentum completely every time.
I really like that Beanslayer didn't get over eager and just trinket that clone. He knows that he needs his trinket to survive, and because he held on to it, Floria actually used the Avenging Wrath with the Barkskin overlap, so they ended up overlapping a bit. Full bash onto Asbury. He's going to trinket out of that. Pops his Celestial Alignment, looking for a one-shot onto Beanslayer. A lot of Star Surge damage following it up. Beanslayer forced to trinket, and that's where saving his trinket was so important. Deep Freeze over onto Rubcubs. Rosita getting locked in that poly. Rosita actually having to block a lot of bursts coming out from Beanslayer and Samayam. Asbury getting cloned up now. Maybe they've got free reign of CC. Floria now getting full cloned. Asper getting kicked on that Cyclone cast, unable to save his team at the moment here. Beanslayer looking for another clone, lands it. A bit of an overlap with the Frostjaw. Rosita on Hypothermia. They're going to clone him up at low HP. A full Hodge now onto Floria, but Beanslayer is going to get cloned up. Asper trying to deny it, but he really didn't get anything done with that Celestial Alignment. A very important cooldown. Incarnation coming out for Beanslayer here very shortly to try and switch this around. Beanslayer actually pre-shadow melding the Hodge, but it's not enough. He's just getting bursted down, and that's what happens in that 3v1 situation on Runes of Lordaeron when you have nowhere to run and you run out of cooldowns with that little bit of an overextension, and you're just going to get bursted down by the might of the Asper's 115k Starfire.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all a Method Black needs. I feel like the Feral Druid in this particular scenario brings a lot more consistent pressure, but man, Method Black's Boomkin Mage combo does so much burst pressure, and you see Floria even getting those denounces out in that scenario. Just all of them coming together, offensive Hammer of Wrath, Holy Shock, everything, and gonna line up and get that kill there. And now all of a sudden we have ourselves a series, boys. I Like the Status is gonna lose one game here on Runes of Lordaeron, but now it is I Like the Status map choice as well as composition lock-in.
It's so fun when you point out numbers on the score screen and then everybody in chat's like, what is that? Nerf that! Nerf, what is that? I could say it about anything. I could be like, wow, Sinister Strike hit for 30k, and everyone in the chat would be like, what? How did Sinister Strike hit for 30k?
No, I don't know, man. This is going to be intense. I mean, we're going into game number 4 at this point in a best of 5. And I don't know. What map is this FMP going to bring it to? What do you think?
Probably Tiger's Peak.
Yeah.
Maybe even Dalaran.
Really?
Maybe Dalaran would be smaller for Bean to bounce around.
That's a good point, and they do have pillars too, so they have that line of sight. I mean, you saw in Ruins of Lordaeron, they kind of gravitated, I Like the Status, kind of gravitated towards those tombs or those gravestones for line of sight. But if they wanted to push out, Method Black's positioning forced them to always push out, and they got defensive cooldowns, they got more efficient trades. Dalaran might be risky, but who knows? You do have those boxes available to you, which are a bit more efficient than those gravestones, but we're going to find out from our admin here very, very shortly what compositions and what map they're going to. This is a best of 5, everybody, so the team that makes it to 3 wins first is going to continue on, and I Like the Status currently has 2 wins. Method Black just got their first on the ropes to being dropped down.
When Beanslayer plays a rogue, you know what he calls his DFA?
Bean from above?
Yeah, BFA.
BFA.
Bean from above.
Bean from above. Look out, Bean coming out from above. I like that. I see all the Beanslayer homies in chat, guys. I'm telling you, giving him his energy helps. It definitely helps. But here we go. You were right, Super. The next map of this best of 5 series is going to be played out on Dollar and Sewers. Welcome everybody to Dollar and Sewers. It's I Like the Status versus Method Black here in match number 1 of the GCD Pro League tournament number 2. We have Beanslayer, Merkmines, and Rub Cubs now. We have an Feral Priest Paladin composition coming back out from I Like the Status, going up against Method Black's
Smart
Age Holy Paladin. You like that?
Yeah, the map accomplishes so much. It stacks them up for Beanslayer to swap really easy. It stacks them up for Merkmines to fear a lot of people really easy. The box is also really close by for Beanslayer's to retreat, so this map is pretty favorable for Beanslayer's team here in the potentially final game. We see Rub Cubs taking to the pillar, Beanslayer opening up onto Asper, looking for an early pounce clone, but Rosita's going to deny him with the counterspell. Solar Beam over onto Merkmines there. I'm a little bit uncertain as to what he was actually aiming for. Merkmines actually going to trick it. Goes for the Horrify onto Floria. A lot of burst onto Asper, already silenced up, just getting crushed through Barskin. He displaces back behind the box, reconnecting with Floria, who's still sitting through that fear. Stay by the light, it's going to proc. Avenging Wrath forced out from Floria. Beanslayer switching maybe over onto Rosita here for a few moments, trying to build up some bleeds. He does go into that full Hodge, however, forced to trinket and survival instincts. Burst getting thrown back and forth on both sides. But that was the Celestial Alignment out from Asper, and it trades out pretty even for just a trinket out from Beanslayer.
Yeah, I mean, but oh, the wall's going to be forced as Beanslayer peeks his head just at a moment, and Asper just Kamehamehas right at him. And Rub Cubs being caught in all sorts of CC. Beanslayer going to run right out as he knows Rub Cubs has that execution sentence available to him as well as he's DR'd. But Incarnation coming out from Beanslayer. He wants to get offensive as the Hodge lands onto Floria. And it looks like he's going to go right back over onto Rosita Jones. Asper and Rosita Jones want none of that. They're just going to go ahead and pull back with their healer at this point. Clone goes out onto Merkmine as well. And this Incarnation is getting peeled quite well. Bash goes out onto Beanslayer. And the Solar Beam and Deep Freeze goes out on the Rub Cub. It's going to force the bubble as Beanslayer didn't have a trinket for that Hodge or a wall at this point. It looks like Method Black is getting a lot of cooldowns at this point.
Yeah, but Beanslayer's Incarn really didn't force any CDs. There was no Barskin for a while, no Avenging Wrath, and they weren't unable to get a trinket or a bubble out from Floria. Beanslayer needs to be careful here. He's got no survival instincts, no potential damage reduction. Rub Cup position back. Beanslayer knows that he's going to start running away, knowing that he has no defensive cooldowns really remaining. Rub Cup's trinket is the last line of defense, but Merkmines is going to get swapped over to. He's got to be careful as well. A lot of damage following up from Asper. This could be the dispersion, trying to hold on to it, down to 18%, holding on to it. Ballsy play from Merkmines. Full Horrify onto Floria now, looking for a setup potentially onto Rosita. Full Fear onto Floria now. Asper cloned up. Rosita in a 3v1 situation, retreating back to the box. He does have both blocks available, and he should be able to hold on to both of them, actually. Asper now getting swapped over to. He's back behind the box now as well, trying to overextend Beanslayer here and expose him, but he knows that he's not going to fall for the chicken trickery. That's a tongue twister.
Chicken trickery, I like that. You should trademark that. But 12 seconds left on Beanslayer's trinket is going to keep him a bit more safer for the next setup. But is it going to matter? Deep Freeze goes out onto Rub Cubs. Can they land the Polymorph? They actually weren't. Oh, they did land it, but Rub Cubs is going to trinket out of that. Beanslayer still the kill target for now. But now he does have that trinket available to him, but no wall. He's still very, very vulnerable. Bash goes out into Merkmines, and it looks like Floria and Asper just want to pull back. But Rosita Jones actually gets pushed off the ledge back towards the enemy team. He's going to land the Polymorph onto Merkmines here. It looks like it's a defensive Polymorph, but Method Black, I feel like they're playing a lot more smarter, and they also have a lot more defensive cooldowns to show for it going in here into game number 4, potentially match point against I Like the Status.
Yeah, Floria is sitting pretty right now. He has all of his cooldowns, Barkskin, both blocks. Really a solid position for Method Black here. I think they would have to throw at this point to actually lose. Rub Cub has basically nothing remaining. Unfortunately, Rosita not able to get that CC, and actually overextending a bit here. Does Beanslayer have any damage to follow it up? Now a full Hodge onto Floria as we're getting interrupted on that Cyclone. He just managed to displace away from Beanslayer's Cyclone, though. Well done to line of sight his clone on the follow-up. Rosita still has both blocks with no CC onto Floria. I should be able to deal with this. Pops the execution sense. We see Icy Veins get popped. Beanslayer retreat retreating back immediately on that Icy Veins. He saw the potential burst available for Method Black. Asper has that Celestial alignment. I like the status, have to be careful here. Asper is about to go crazy.
Oh yeah, and look at the incarnation coming out from Beanslayer as well. It's going to be a battle of the druids very, very soon. I can't wait to see what happens. But Merkmine's being pushed out. He's just going to get polymorphed up. It looks like Method Black's taking their time, collecting those icicles, waiting for their setup. Both teams playing super patient right now. They know everything's on the line right here, right now. They both want to go through that winner's bracket, but Asper and Rosita Jones are going to make the move. They're going to push up Floria in the middle of the map. Going to get horrified by Merkmines, potentially a fear out. There's the full fear. Asper being cycloned up. Rosita Jones getting silenced as well, and it looks like they're going to swap it over on him, but he does have both of those blocks available to him. Floria now in that Hodge as well. Rubcub's being put in the deep freeze, and they're swapping it over onto him. Solar Beam coming out as well. Massive Spell is going to be stopped regardless because Asper's Bash is going to force the bubble out of that Celestial Alignment from Asper.
I don't think anyone ever would expect a Paladin swap from Mage Moonkin, and they actually got the bubble out and Avenging Wrath for that, so 2-for-1 on the Celestial Alignment, but they do escape with all their trinkets intact, which is very important to be able to trinket and break up the crowd control. Merkmine's landing a full fear onto Floria. They need some damage now as we're caught into a Horrify. Frostjaw actually used onto Merkmine's, trying to slow down some of his damage here. Floria leaving that fear, should be able to get some cast. Beans are actually cloning up half duration, going for some damage here onto Rosita. Rosita actually trinketing out of that maim, trying to reverse the pressure on a Beanslayer who's going to trinket himself, get his survival instincts up, but he's going to get cloned up immediately by Asper, realizing that trinket was burned and just trying to deny any more healing from Rubcubs here. Merkmine sitting back at the pillar. Rubcubs moving forward with that sprint, looking for a Hodge potentially onto Floria, just crossing the entire map. He does manage to land that full Hodge. Now they need some more pressure built up here. What I mean by pressure is damage at the moment, because it's very lacking on Rosita and Asper. Now full fear onto Floria, Horrify onto Asper, silence onto Rosita, 3v0 situation for a couple more seconds. Rosita getting bursted down. Bob comes through, saved by the light, is going to proc. Devouring Plague follows it up. Finally, the damage following it up. They need to get a block here, but Floria is going to pop the Aura Master. He should be able to deal with the damage without needing to block. Asper holding onto his Barkskin now as well. Asper does get cloned up at low HP. A full lockout onto Rosita's Polymorph there. Full bleeds out from Beanslayer, doing a lot of damage, cloning Rosita up at low HP. Floria trying to recover here, going for a Dispel. Does get full Hodged out of that Dispel. Merkmine's getting bashed though. Beanslayer's cloned up. They're not able to follow up the CC with any damage. Root Beam onto Merkmine's, Defreeze onto Rubcup. Does get feared up, but he lands the Poly and he gets locked out on the Mass Dispel. It could be the dispersion for Merkmines here. Half Polymorph now onto Rubcubs. Do they have anything else to follow it up? Beanslayer pulling back, lands a full clone onto Asper, denying the CC and giving Rubcub the time to top Merkmines off.
Merkmines is going to leave that situation with his Disperse still available, but Rubcub's using a whole bunch of buttons there as well. Method Black just going to pull back for now. Beanslayer still on Rosita Jones' back. Hodge goes out onto Floria, DR Cyclone onto Asper, and it looks like Rosita Jones is going to continue to be the kill target for now, but Beans is going to clone him up for now and swap the damage over onto Asper, trying to constantly keep Floria behind at this point. Full Fear lands onto Floria, Horrify out on Asper. Rosita's all alone, but still with those blocks available to him. Is this going to be his first block of the game? Saved by the Light's going to be used as well as the execution sentence onto Rosita Jones, and now Rosita wants to get offensive. Deep Freeze on the Rubcubs. He's going to blink and get the full Polymorph onto Rubcubs as well, and Merkmines is just going to preemptively use that Disperse at higher health. I like that choice. He knew that he was going to have to use it. He knew the damage was coming in. He's just going to go ahead and press it and keep his health higher. Easier for Rubcub to catch up, but the Frostjaw is back up, and Beanslayer is the one who's taking the pressure now. Method Black isn't over with their setup chain yet, but they want to turn it back around on Asper. As Devouring Play is going to land, as well as that Hodge. Silence goes out on Asper as well. He has that Barkskin available to him, but is he going to try to hold on to it? Beanslayer right back on his tail. Horrify goes out into Floria. The Fear is going to be trinketed by Floria. Asper using his Barkskin as well, but he's going to get cloned up at low health from Beanslayer, but now they're turning it around onto him, constantly just doing crazy swaps. Beanslayer caught into that Hodge, but Rubcub not into any CC right now. Beanslayer's going to be A-okay. 16% dampening, and it's getting deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I think Asper was trying to hold on to the skin because he knew Beanslayer would just clone him on it, but because he held it for so long, Floria was actually forced to trinket as well. We see a setup onto Merkmines. Celestial Alignment gets popped. He's got no dispersion. Rubcub needs to desperately spam heal him. Counter pressure onto Asper. He's got no Barskin. Floria has no trinket, no bubble. Caught into the Horrify. Can they chain the CC? Can they finish Asper off? They land the full fear. Asper completely alone. Merkmines trinkets out to finish the job, and Asper could go down here. Shadow where Death connects, and I like the status. They're going to 3-1 Method Black and advance. Method Black forced down into the losers bracket. I think this is probably the first time in GCD history that Method Black is battling in the losers bracket, aside from the winners.
Yeah, you know, actually Method Black last tournament actually came all the way through the losers bracket very early on to beat Cloud9. But it's true, like, we never ever see this team lose like that, but it was such a close series. But Method Black is going to drop down to the lower bracket, and I like this status. They are going to be moving forward in the winner bracket, beating the #1 seeded team coming out of the qualifiers. These guys are here to compete. BS6, BS6. I see the chat. I see the chat just going wild, man. All right, congratulations to I Like This